The whole system is completely unsafe.
I just don't know if I'll ever see him again. You don't know anything about me.
Maybe he's a woman.
Okay. The whole system is completely unsafe. The whole system is completely unsafe.
Well, sometimes the best ideas come out of the blue. And I found this story. I found a little mention of people were walking past the building site and getting nosebleeds and getting sore throats. And in the article there's a mention, this was the site of Avonmouth's mustard gas factory. And I was absolutely astounded. I had no idea that there was mustard gas factories in Avonmouth ever, or that the British ever made mustard gas.
Factories all across the country, Manchester, Banbury, Avonmouth. Make the gas, fill the shells, beat the Hun at his own game. That was the plan, and nothing was going to stop its success.
In those factories, a lot of local women and men worked, and no one knew about it. And it was clear at that point that there was a story here, a story that had to be told, and it felt absolutely right for acta to be the ones to tell that story. We looked at film from the First World War, we looked at research, we talked about it, we looked at how different life was then to life 100 years later.
We were very privileged to go to the National Archives and look through a whole lot of material, a lot of it classified as top secret. So yeah, it was really mind-blowing actually, all the things that we found out.
Finding out stories about these people that you just wouldn't imagine, would you? I mean, I've always been quite a feminist, so that for me the part of the play with the women being shown, you know, proving their worth and stuff was very important to me.
I was being brought up in that area, even as a child, we knew that certain areas you couldn't play in because the ground was contaminated by mustard gas, but we didn't know why.
This sort of catalyst is also very important. More things come forward, people bring documentary evidence to light. This is what's happening across the country, really, in remembering this First World War, but also having to help younger people, future generations, realise just how terrible it was.
Mustard gas was and is an evil substance. It has the effect of liquefying tissue. If you breathe it in, it destroys your lungs. If it gets on your skin, it burns through. Everyone suffered from conjunctivitis. Everyone suffered from bad lungs. It was gradually killing the men and women who worked there. The Ministry of Munitions kept demanding more and more shells from the Chittenden factory. They upped it by thousands. They wanted to make 1,000 shells every day. Impossible, but the women had to do it. There were hundreds of accidents. And the facts about the mustard gas factories in Avonmouth have been hidden for nearly 100 years. We put together 3 different weekly groups to make this show. They'd never worked together before. There were 20 of them. We'd never done a touring show with more than 6 people. So this in itself was going to be amazing and amazingly difficult.
The best thing about the project for me is probably learning more about the war and actually what really went on. I didn't really know about the mustard factories prior to the play, so it's really just sort of been quite educational in terms of being able to find out what it was like for them in that era, and also for sort of women, I suppose, and how uplifting it was for them to sort of be able to work, I suppose, for the first time.
Each of the performers developed their own character completely themselves. There was so much of them in the final play. Through a process of improvisation and discussion, we crafted the play scene by scene.
We've had to use quite a different approach to how we play the characters because, as Grace says, they're a completely different mindset that you would have in that time. But also our approach to acting has been quite different as well. Like the way we started doing this was we would just improvise characters as if we were from that time.
We've had to think, like, as once we were given our characters, a lot of us, they were, you know, based on kind of real events and things, but made up people, or some of us even being real people. And you had to put yourself in the position of this person that there was no way that you could draw on like previous experience because they're so different.
My character, he doesn't go to war. He decides to stay home. He's really against it. But men at that time did not like that at all. So playing a character who was kind of really not liked by, you know, his fellow characters in the play was quite difficult to do.
You really have to be considering what you're saying and what you're doing at all times, and I think that's much more challenging as an actor, and has allowed us to really develop our skills in a way that we wouldn't necessarily have done in other plays.
We wanted very much to tell the story to people around the city in places where theatre doesn't normally happen.
He went away, you see. He signed up. He was only just old enough, but he wanted to go, and I wanted him to go. So I waved him off, cheering. And now he's blind. Mustard gas, they said. I just don't know what's going to happen when he comes home. How it might have changed him. How he might not be the same Robert, my Robert. Oh, I just don't know.
It was really important that we followed each character through, because each character showed a different aspect of reaction to the war.
Is there anything I can do? Don't think so. I've seen too much suffering to believe in a kind God anymore.
Most of the monologues were actually improvised and then written by the characters who said them in the play. And there's some remarkably poignant and heartfelt pieces of performance in the monologues.
They said he was a deserter. But he wouldn't desert, would he? Not my Sam. There must have been some silly misunderstanding.
I saw the play so many times, obviously directing it and working through rehearsal and then seeing it in performance, and there were certain moments that always sent a shiver up my spine, no matter how many times I saw it.
What was that? Can you smell that?
Go away!
I've read every book on the First and Second World War in all the novels, and not once have I ever read about the gas girls.
We're from Avonmouth, and we actually had no idea this was going on there.
I'm in tears now because of the wonderful portrayal.
You could see that you researched it, and I never heard of the gas girls before, and it was a big secret, so it's now the secret is out.
Community theatre is a fantastic medium to use to tell this sort of historical story. And what really worked was the fact that our performers were not trained actors, but they're using their own natural responses to play the sort of characters who, if they'd been born 100 years before, it would be them, working class people from Bristol, caught up in the machinery of war.
These are the sorts of things we need to understand, because it's part of what we're making decisions about today in our lives. It's going on in the world, and we shouldn't think that we're immune from it because it was a long time ago. All of us just pray it doesn't happen again.
How would anyone know that there was a story to tell? Fly said nothing. So I told him everything that happened. All about us gas girls.